Good evening. This is a guitar pick. Guitar picks are a funny thing. Guitar players are very picky about the type of pick that they use. Some picks are made out of thin plastic, others are made out of a special type of resin, and then yet others are actually made out of natural materials. This pick is made out of celluloid, which is a synthetic paper product. This pick is about 50 to 75 cents at any guitar store in the country. You can buy bags of them, you can buy buckets of them, you can throw them at the crowd, you can stick them on your forehead, you can shred all night long with a guitar pick. This is a replaceable commodity, pretty easy to get, it's available everywhere. This guitar pick is made out of a premium material called Ultex. And Ultex is spiffy because it sounds and feels a bit more like a natural material. In this case, it's designed to feel and sound a little bit more like tortoiseshell. However, you can't kill turtles to play guitar anymore. So this pick is an approximation of a natural material, and a big distinctive feature of this is just how dense the material is. So when you drop it, you can hear a clink, and when you play with it, it gives you a much bolder sound than the first pick. This guitar pick is made out of woolly mammoth ivory. That's right. A woolly mammoth died in a river in Alaska. It was buried, and 30,000 years later, some hero came along with a D10 dozer and cut a hole in the mountain and found this woolly mammoth, and the tusk was shattered and the pieces were turned into guitar picks. And for the price of $45, I got myself a woolly mammoth guitar pick. Now, many of you would say, Jason, why in the world did you buy a $45 guitar pick? That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Aren't they easy to lose? Yeah, they are. But many of you would also say, you mean to tell me that this is 30,000-year-old ivory from a woolly mammoth, something I've only seen in a museum, and for only $45 I can have one too? Where do I get one? You know what this is, guys? This is free market principles applied to guitar picks, and it is beauty is in the eye of the beholder, right? Some people don't give a crap about that pick, and some people would never play this one because it just doesn't sound right or feel right or smell right or touch right, whatever the rules are. But the reality is in this world, you're allowed to pick whichever one you want. You're allowed to pay the price that you think is right. So why am I rambling about guitar picks? Well, this is a really simple analogy for something in our world, and that would be pocket knives. This is a S30V G10 Paramilitary 2. It couldn't be more standard of a model if you tried. This is a phenomenally good knife. It's a used knife. You can see I use it often. It's got some schmoo on it. It's the left-handed version because I, in fact, am left-handed. So I'm representing. Pretty great, right? Well, it's a fine knife. I believe it's about a $150 knife. It can be had at almost any Spyderco dealer in the country. Great. What's it worth on the used market? Interesting question, right? What do you think would happen if I listed this for $300 in the group? And with no comments turned on, if I listed this for $300, what's going to happen? That's right. No one's going to buy it. This knife will not sell at $300. You know why? Because you as consumers are smarter than we give you credit for, and you know what things are worth. And this knife is not worth $300. Why is that? Well, because like we talked before, you can get it anywhere. Make sense? Good. This knife, this is a Bento Box Shop M390, available in Bento Box Blue, and a very nice steel. It's a phenomenally good knife. This is arguably some people's favorite or even their best knife. Phenomenally good knife. What's so special about it? Well, it's only available at one dealer. Great. Is it worth $500? No, it's not worth $500, is it? Why is that? Well, I can still go to Bento Box Shop and I can buy this knife with shipping and tax for probably around $210. So what's it worth on the used market? It's not worth more than $210, I can tell you that. It's probably worth less than that because it's been used, it's been carried. It's actually the older model pre-CQI. So what's it worth? I don't know. It's worth whatever somebody's willing to pay for it. but I don't think it's going to be worth more than about $180 because you can go get one somewhere else for less than $300, right? Now, let's move on to this knife. This is also an M390 knife, but it has fancy pants scales on it. Well, is this knife worth more than that knife? Again, beauty's in the eye of the beholder, isn't it? This knife has brass scales that are engraved. This has G10 scales. Most would say that brass is better than G10 in terms of being fancier, but I bet there's a lot of you out there that would much rather have G10 in your pocket than brass for all the reasons that we could think of, right? This is lighter weight. This is easier to carry. If you damage it, you're not going to be upset. But the reality is this knife costs more than that knife. Well, what's it worth? Again, this knife is worth whatever somebody's willing to pay for it. And in a situation like this, we don't know what it's worth. So I guess the right way to try it is to price it. So I suppose if this is $210 and these scales cost, I don't even remember what I paid. If these scales cost $160, then it's worth somewhere higher than this, but probably not $500 because you can go build another one, right? So I don't really know what it's worth either. This knife is the last one I want to talk about. This is the Cutlery Shop CTS XHP Paramilitary 2. There's only 500 of these in existence, maybe 600. Not a lot of them out there. There will never be any more of these as long as Jeff Loffer has his way. Because this knife is super rare, because it's been around a while. It's one of the first several limited editions that were available. Because it's rare, because it's hard to find, its value is even harder to assess because it's worth whatever somebody's willing to pay. Well, because you can't get more of them and because it's a rare item, it's frankly worth more. It's worth a premium. Every time I see these sell, they sell somewhere between, I don't know, $300 and $400. That's just what they go for. So what we see all the time in this group is people will post a knife for sale, and then other good intentioned members will feel that they have to make some sort of comment about the price and whether or not it's in and out of range. Good intentioned comments are one thing, but tonight we saw somebody who got particularly nasty, decided to start calling everybody D-bags, decided to make a fool of himself because he was talking about a knife like this that's hard to get, particularly rare, and it was priced at a fair price, and he decided that it was a rip-off price, that this guy was price gouging. Well, my first point is that it's none of his business what somebody wants to sell something for. It's just none of his business. He doesn't have to buy it. It's not like someone's coming to his house and forcing this upon him and taking his wallet out of his pocket and extracting the money. That's not what happened. The person listed a knife for sale, and then it's up to you to decide whether or not you want to pay for it or whether or not the price is fair. That's just how we buy things in this world. It's listed for a price and you decide, right? Where this guy screwed up was he forgot that, frankly, we don't care what he has to say about the price. Second thing that he got wrong was that he was ignorant about the used value of this knife, because it's not just a used up knife, it's actually a rather rare collectible knife. So he was doubly wrong, first by spouting his opinion, and secondly by being incorrect with the information that he was trying to provide. So rather than speak out of turn and talk about something that you may not be right on, or expressing your personal opinion when your personal opinion doesn't have anything to do with what the potential buyer might want to do, we've decided as a group that it's best policy that if somebody's trying to offer something for sale, it's up to the buyer and the seller to decide whether or not it's fair, and it's not for everybody else in the peanut gallery to decide with snide comments or rude comments or even gifs and emojis representing your dissatisfaction with what you feel the knife is worth. Because it, again, for all of these knives, they're worth what somebody's willing to pay for them and not a penny more. So if I had to come up with a little game here, that would be that knife, and this would be that knife, and boy, this would be this knife. So when you're in the group, I would please ask of you, if you see something that is unethical, if somebody is truly pricing something that's ridiculous, or if somebody is representing something that's completely false. Like, let's say, for example, somebody calls this the Rec Para 3, and they're asking this kind of money for it. Well, it's obviously not a Rec Para 3. They're misrepresenting it. They're being dishonest in the way that they're representing the product. What we want you to do as admins of the group is we want you to report it, and that way we can handle it. Another way to handle it would be to send a private message to the seller and say, hey, bro, I see you got a knife for sale. In my experience, I find that the knife is worth X. I notice you've got it priced at Y. Is there something special that I don't know about your knife that I need to know, or am I mistaken? You know, when you come at it that way, that the other person might know something you don't, you'd be shocked at how much you can learn in life. So I hope this answers some of the questions that we've had this evening about price policing, why price policing is not acceptable. It's also not acceptable to be a jerk and rip people off. It's not a good way to go through life. Why are you ripping people off? But it's the seller's responsibility. Excuse me, I misspoke. It's the buyer's responsibility to be the one to decide which knife they want and what they're willing to pay for it. Because there's nothing wrong with any of these knives. They're all fantastic knives. Whichever one you decide to buy, that's totally up to you. That's your decision. And part of being a grown-up is making good decisions and trying to minimize the bad decisions. Plenty of us have made bad decisions in our lives. But you know what? It's not for the rest of the forum to help other people decide these things for them. So another thing I want to add is for many of us, the collectability of the knife plays a component in whether or not we decide to buy something. And the collectability is important to many of you. If this knife was suddenly worth 0 the second I bought it, I don't think I would have bought it. I would have bought something that didn't depreciate. And one thing I love about this hobby is this is something that you can get into. You can buy these things, you can collect them, you can use them, and then they don't lose all their value altogether. It's still something that has a value in the marketplace. That's one of the wonderful things about this hobby. So it's actually in everyone's best interest that these things hold their value or that they even go up in value. It just makes your collection more valuable. It makes the knife more desirable, which then makes it easier for you to buy and sell them. So keep that in mind as well. If any of you have any questions about this, if you want to discuss it further, I'm open-minded to your opinion and I want to hear it. I'm certainly not trying to rule this like some sort of dictator, but at the same time, we will not tolerate rude and disrespectful behavior in somebody's sale post. Let a guy sell a knife or don't sell it. If it doesn't sell, it doesn't sell. It's not your problem either. But one thing I've noticed is if you list a knife too expensive, nobody's going to buy it and you're going to have to mark it down. So that's how it should go for us. Appreciate you guys. Thanks for watching. If you actually watched all of this video, I'm shocked. So thank you. Hi, Mom. And you guys have a good night.